government autonomy, pros and cons.
To start with, I think that local government is the closest form of government to the people. Majority of Nigerians live within our rural areas, and it is no mistake that we came up with this system of government where you have the national, the federal government, the state and the local government. But what we have done is that even in our constitution, we downplayed the importance of the local government. Yeah, we agree that we have 3 tiers, but in principle or in practice, we actually have 2, where it is recognized by the federal and the state. Now the local government becomes an appendage of the state government. So I think that the crafters of our constitution ab initio got it all wrong. So if you say that you have 3 tiers of government and one of them is subservient of the second, then there's a problem. But I believe that this should be a welcome development. In the build-up to the general election, one of the campaign points for the opposition party was restructuring. And when this development came up, I thought that they were going to hail the government and said, wow, this is the right way to start. But what are we seeing? The very same people who are supposed to be supporting this process are the ones against it. And this is not the first time. Remember that I think it was the last exercise, 2013, 2014, when they tried to amend the constitution, where the issue of local government autonomy came on board. It was passed by the National Assembly. When it got to the state assemblies, what did we see? The state houses of assemblies defeated it, roundly so. And why was that so? Because the state houses of assembly members are appendages and stooges of the governors. And so it becomes very difficult for us to have a very vital document like that passed.
Well, here's an interesting thing, because this is an angle somebody actually brought in a few days ago when we were having this conversation. Is that, well, that is too much powers to the local government chairman. That's a lot of money. And we already know, I mean, who has even been able to monitor how much they use the little that they've been given? We see the condition of our rural, our rural areas and those local communities. Now, one is to say that when you now give them access to the general purse, that they'll actually do right by the people.
Well, it's just natural human nature. I just want to say a good person will always be a good person and a bad person will always be a bad person. However, laws are very, very important for us to be guided as human beings. The only difference between a local government chairman and a state governor is that while the state governor has got immunity from prosecution, criminal prosecution while in office, a chairman does not have it under the constitution. So if you misbehave, the EFCC, the police, or those who are the relevant, government agencies can arrest you and prosecute you and jail you while in government.
Interesting. Now,
so I think that will serve as a check on the use of funds.
Interesting. Let's hope all of those things work out, because in theory that's how it's supposed to do, but we know practically in Nigeria things that always follow, the set guidelines. But then there are some people who have said the reason for this local government autonomy is to reduce the powers of state governors. Even not powers, at least their financial powers, because they are the ones who dole this out. Now, talking about that, how does that basically affect? Well, to be honest with you, some people believe that this administration just wants to reduce the powers of governors and their influence on what happens on the federal. How true could that be?
I am in for any administration that has the political will of reducing the powers of the governors. The 36 states governors, who are the 36 musketeers of Nigerian politics, they hold Nigeria to ransom. I'm from Benue State. Otukpo local government, for example. I heard that and this some years ago, the wage bill of the state is about 30 million naira, and what gets to the state is just barely above 30 million. So it means that the government of the local, what we have done effectively is to render the local government useless. So you just pay people to work, but there's nothing to put on ground.
Here's my question, and I'll start with you. Can the governors actually stop this local government autonomy? Bear in mind, the Governors Forum have already written a petition to the President.
I think the issue of autonomy is holistic. It's beyond this issue of just financial. The way we are looking at is allocation. Then we will just confine the issue of autonomy to allocation. No, whatever the governors are doing,
Whether they now misappropriate such funds is actually legal. So what you need to do is to go to the National Assembly to amend relevant sections of the Constitution that empowers them to collect such money through the state and local government joint account, just as the way we have with the federal government and the state government. You understand? So until that is amended, whatsoever is being done, even if money is directed to be paid by the president directly to the account of the local government, it will be null and void. And it's going to be open for a long legal tussle. At the end of the day, the Constitution will prevail.
Still the question, do the governors have the ability and the power to stop this?
Enormous powers.
Interesting. Now, we have also heard that the NFIU Act, according to Governor Yari, former Governor Yari, who had written the petition, who was the head of the Governors Forum at the time the petition was sent, he says that even the NFIU Act does not allow that to happen, the deadline and the guidelines. He also quoted the Constitution, the part that lets us know that the local governments do not have that kind of autonomy. So even though the thoughts of the president is welcomed, all of the things that you said are so true and probably very much needed. But without the law backing it, all of this is probably going to go through another legal tussle and probably may not happen in this administration. How do you deal with that?
Now, let's go back to the foundation, which is the Constitution, the grand norm. Now, the Constitution, you see, that legal document we have guiding our affairs as a society, it's so ambiguous. And that's what the problem is. Because the Constitution empowers the president to carry out an executive order, which is what he did. The same Constitution also encumbers you in other sections. So I believe that it's going to be subjected to the legal interpretation of the judiciary. However, do we need to go through that route? It looks like the shortcut is the most realistic one right now. However, I'm not averse to the fact that we have to go through the National Assembly. But with the crops of the people we have in our National Assembly and our state houses of assembly, I do not think that the local government, because we've tested it before, the local government will never have its autonomy if we subject it through this process. However, I think it's in that light that the president wielded one of his powers in the Constitution, enshrined in the Constitution. So I like again.
Yes. But such powers should not be at variance with the Constitution.
No, it has to be in
tandem with the Constitution.
No, it is in the Constitution. The Constitution empowers the president to do that. I understand. So what I'm saying is this: it is now going to be subjected not to you and I but to the judiciary.
Of course.
And so it becomes the decision of 4 men or 7 men sitting on it.
Yeah. Interesting. So we would like to have your thoughts on how realistic the June 1 kickoff is going to be. Give us your thoughts on the comment section of this video. Wholesome conversation we have had right here. Let's have your thoughts. And of course, I want to say a big thank you to you, Angu Kennedy, for taking our time to talk to us. You have given us a lot of things to talk about on this matter. And Wale Martins, thank you so much for talking to Rootstv Nigeria. You have been watching Root Calls.